Hello everyone, welcome to our video, and the title of our video is about public goods and market failure in Malaysia. First, what are public goods? Economists define public goods as materials, products, or services that a society can enjoy. Therefore, public goods are non-rival and non-excludable. Non-rival means that when a person consumes it will not affect the consumption of another person. Also, the meaning of non-excludable means everyone can gain access to public goods. Next, we will talk about how these public goods are facing market failure in Malaysia. Let's look at our first example, which is healthcare in Malaysia. The Malaysian healthcare system has been monopolized by the government in terms of healthcare resources, which has resulted in an oversupply of healthcare system, making the quality of services poor. On the other hand, government hospitals in Malaysia own most of the market, and government hospitals can obtain medical supplies and resources at below market prices through bulk purchasing, which results in higher costs for private hospitals than government hospitals. Proceed to our second example, which is the water infrastructure in Malaysia. For your information, water infrastructure can be further narrowed down into water supply, water resource management, flood management, sewage and drainage system, and coastal restoration infrastructure. Due to time constraints, we will only focus on sewage and water supply in Malaysia. The main obstacles faced by sewage and water supply in Malaysia are sewage pollution, river pollution, and water disruptions. These negative compound events are stemmed from sewage pollution, and therefore, it is important to understand the root cause of environmental problems so that they can be dealt with efficiently and effectively. Sewage pollution in Malaysia is contributed by the reckless discharge of sewage by squatters, sewage of households, wet markets, and eateries. In consequence, sewage pollution will lead to river pollution due to poorly maintained sewage treatment plants in Malaysia. Also, river pollution may harm animals living in the water and constitutes a significant risk to human health. Besides that, sewage pollution will cause water disruption as well. For instance, the water crisis in Selangor that was caused by water disruption has wreaked havoc in people's life because panic may arise due to a shortage of fresh water. Moving on to the next example, which is education. In 2023, education can be considered a basic need that plays a very important role in the growth and progress of individuals and the development of society. Education helps people to acquire knowledge and skills and improve their logical thinking skills. But the fact is that Malaysia taxes citizens of all races but has an unfair system of education distribution that always promotes the values of fairness, harmony, and tolerance, but ironically, the system that supports education is unfair. This problem has led to brain drain becoming a common phenomenon in Malaysia, which ultimately leads to the stagnation of the country's socio-economic and civilizational development. After discussing why these public goods encountered market failure, we will shift our focus to discussing how government can improve the respective public goods accessibility to the public. On the other hand, PTPTN is a loan provided by the Malaysian government to provide loans at low interest rates to enable relatively poor families to afford school fees for their children. However, in practice, due to the inadequate PTPTN vetting system, many wealthier families can obtain high PTPTN loans despite misrepresenting their salaries and jobs, depriving poor families of the opportunity to obtain PTPTN loans. Primarily, we will now focus on the accessibility of public goods and how government can make certain such accessibility can benefit the public. First, healthcare. Malaysia's healthcare resources are unevenly distributed between urban and rural areas, and the quality of healthcare facilities and services varies widely, with most healthcare facilities being located in the more developed cities, while the relatively backward rural areas struggle to access the same healthcare system as the cities. In fact, residents in rural areas pay the same percentage of taxes as those in urban areas, but government hospitals in rural areas receive far less funding than those in urban areas, thus exploiting the welfare of hospitals in rural areas. Subsequently, water infrastructure. In our opinion, the government of Malaysia should consider both supply and demand sides of water supply. First, water supply management is implemented to help identify the capacity of a water resource and to evaluate the water systems that supply water. However, Malaysia's water supply is managed by the state and federal governments. To improve the effectiveness and efficiency of water supply, Malaysia must practice a holistic approach that removes hitherto fragmented management practices and include all stakeholders in decision-making. Apart from water supply management, water demand management plays a vital role in ensuring there is efficient water used by the public. This can be done by controlling the demand side through consumptive demand such as postponing or avoiding the need to develop new water resources. There is another alternative to water demand management, which is increasing the water tariffs. Charging higher water tariffs to consumers, it will allow the government to have the capital to fund maintenance works and to upgrade and change the piping systems. Now, we will proceed to education. For education, the government must develop an education policy that promotes egalitarian principles both in terms of opportunities and institutional practices. To fulfill the idea of everyone has the right to education, the government must focus on these neglected groups in the community such as B40 and special needs individuals. During the pandemic period, online learning has become compulsory. The after effects can be seen especially in B40 individuals because they don't have the necessary electronic gadgets such as laptops to access online learning. Therefore, the government can collaborate with tech companies in donating computers and providing data plans, or introducing subsidies in terms of money to B40 students to purchase devices. What's more, the government should be more active in promoting inclusive education. Since special needs students may not fit well in mainstream schools and may require special education, both mainstream and special education teachers in Malaysia may need more training so that they can fulfill the needs of special needs students. Also, an alternative assessment system is suggested since special needs students may face greater difficulties in academic performance as compared to general students. After discussing how we can better access public goods, it is important to discuss about efficiency and effectiveness. Let's begin with healthcare. Improving the efficiency and effectiveness of healthcare services in Malaysia and providing equitable healthcare services for all rural enrollees who cannot afford to use the more expensive private hospitals. For some more developed areas, access to healthcare may only take a few minutes to access a developed healthcare system and high-quality services, but for rural areas, their healthcare systems are not as widespread and advanced as in urban areas. To make healthcare services more accessible, efficient, and effective, the government should expand coverage, reduce the uneven distribution of healthcare services between urban and rural areas, and provide the same healthcare services to both urban and rural residents while optimizing the application process for benefits for vulnerable groups. Secondly, water infrastructure. One of the ways governments can improve the efficiency and effectiveness of water supply is by adhering to the principles of the National Policy on the Environment, DASN. The national policy included raising awareness through education such as incorporating environmental aspects in education curricula. As well, the national policy will induce the government to invest more in research and development and technology transfer that support innovation and national competitiveness. Nevertheless, the government may consider Internet of Water such as Smart Water Integrated Management System that help to minimize losses. Along with what we have discussed, without any delay, let's jump into the last one, which is education. Along with what we have discussed, let's jump into the last one, which is education. Education in Malaysia may be dominated by surface learning rather than deep learning. According to researchers from Academy Kepemimpinan and Pengkajian Tinggi, the result of their observations showed that 125 lessons in 41 schools across Malaysia were found delivered unsatisfactorily. So, the education system must be reformed so that our education is focused more on deep learning to promote critical and creative thinking. Also, School leadership is also an important component that the government must take into consideration because transformational school leaders emphasize more on developing well-rounded students. We are almost coming to the end of our video presentation, and now, we will share our standpoint on whether public goods should be privatized. To conclude on the statement, we do not agree because the privatization of public goods will shift the focus on profit maximization instead of public interest. The demonstration of different motives may subject both parties to a conflict of interest when formulating public policy. So, our group would like to end our video presentation by saying no to the privatization of public goods. Thank you all for listening, and remember to drop a like to this video and subscribe.